Thanks very much. And as part of the Mlika conference, we've had 5 sessions since we began on Wednesday. We started off with a masterclass on investor readiness. We transitioned to a set of startups that have received funding. That's what we did on Thursday morning. On Thursday morning. Then afternoon, we looked at a number of products that are available in the ecosystem that startups can benefit from. Then on Friday morning, we have spent a lot of time listening to some of the efforts in the from the stakeholders on the national innovation ecosystem development. We were privileged to host Konza Technopolis, ASEC, and Ministry who expounded. My name is Dr. Tonyo Mwanza. I've been your host so far and moderator. And this afternoon, I am accompanied by a very special person who has been part of this program since we started. And I'm going to invite her, Tracy, to introduce herself.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tracy Wego. I'm the project coordinator for Mlika in Africa. And I hope you've all been having an insightful session and that you're all enjoying the conference.
Wonderful. So how has it been so far for the various sessions? Which ones are standing out for you?
The sessions were very insightful. Today's session, especially on Konza Technopolis, was very insightful. It's good to know all they have done. Imagine.
Yeah. And I think we are coming in at a very timely, moment in order to support some of the works that have been going on. So thanks for everyone who's joining in. We're now going to be having a guest, and in a little while I'll introduce that guest. So for the delegates, please keep our conversations going on online. We have our hashtags and Twitter account. So we have a key guest. Before we do the unveiling of our 100 startups, we have a guest who's coming from the German embassy. And his name is Daniel Alker. He's the head of the German Development Corporation. And he's the chancellor at the embassy of the Federal Republic of Germany, based in Nairobi. And it's my privilege to welcome on board Daniel.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody.
Great. I can see Daniel coming on board. I said,
well. Yes, hello. Yes, good afternoon. And thank you very much for inviting me to this wonderful event this afternoon. And yes, as you said, I am the head of development cooperation at the German embassy in Nairobi. And I'm very happy to say a few words to get the event and the presentation of the 100 top startups in Kenya started, and to give it a bit of a framing from the side of the Kenyan-German Development Corporation. Well, as you might know, Kenyan-German Development Corporation has been going on for over 60 years now. And recently, in the last 3 years, we've shifted our focus to youth employment. So basically, everything we do now serves the objective to support youth employment in Kenya. This is our overarching goal, and everything we do in German Kenyan Development Cooperation is supposed to serve this goal. So we work in different areas. We work in agriculture, we have governance, and we also have our area of so-called sustainable economic development. And there we have basically 2 branches. One is the TVET, the education of young Kenyans, the technical and vocational education and training. And the other one is the formation, the fostering of entrepreneurship and the support for very small companies, and especially youth entrepreneurs. So this is to give you just a short framing why this topic of your event today is important to German Development Cooperation, and why we are also supporting it, and hope to be able to continue our cooperation also in the future. So entrepreneurs are a critical asset, and they must be cultivated and motivated. If successful, their innovations can not only improve standards of living, but it can also generate economic growth and wealth and create jobs. The potential impact is therefore enormous. Through many examples, we have also seen that innovation alters the way individuals, societies, and economies worldwide operate. It can be a key driver to find solutions for social, economic, and environmental challenges. Sorry, I'm having a technical problem here to continue with my speech. Just a second, please. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to start thinking how we can foster innovation in the private sector to create a positive impact on the Sustainable Development Goals. Through the German Development Cooperation, we have supported thousands of entrepreneurs and innovators across Africa by supporting them to scale their businesses. Over the last years, we have also seen that entrepreneurs require framework conditions that foster their growth. This includes a strong ecosystem, an infrastructure of actors, such as educational institutions, innovation hubs, and entrepreneurship service providers, as well as political framework conditions favorable to the specific needs of entrepreneurs. We have supported hundreds of innovation hubs across the globe, and we have learned that when these actors thrive, entrepreneurs are in the best possible position to be successful. The Kenyan entrepreneurship ecosystem is experiencing an exponential growth, which has been attributed by entrepreneurs building solutions for their communities. The African VC Ecosystem Report in 2019 by WeTracker, a fundraising tracking firm based in South Africa and Nairobi, indicated that Kenyan startups raised 43 billion shillings as investment. According to a research conducted in 2018 by VC4A, 50% of the startups participating in ecosystem support programs secure investment. More specifically, 72% out of the 1,333 registered Kenyan ventures are creating jobs targeting the Kenyan youth, which, as I said in the beginning, is of special importance for Kenyan German Development Cooperation. So this is a considerable contribution to the country, given its growing population, and it justifies further investment in the growth and development of the Kenyan startup ecosystem and the entrepreneurs it supports. Make IT in Africa identified a need of creating visibility of Kenya's most influential startups that have innovative solutions and provide them with a platform of scaling up their products or services. Hence, the formation of Mlika. I hope that I pronounced it right. Make IT in Africa is a tech entrepreneurship initiative that promotes digital innovation for sustainable and inclusive development in sub-Saharan Africa. Deutsche Gesellschaft für internationale Zusammenarbeit, which is the German term for GIZ, implements this project on behalf of the German Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development, BMZ, as part of BMZ's Digital Africa initiative. Mlika, as the name suggests, aims to shine a significant light on 100 promising startups in Kenya and create a pipeline for local and international investors as well as partners. Mlika is partnering with C4D Lab, University of Nairobi, and the Association of Startup and SME Enablers, ASEC, to identify, recognize, and increase visibility of 100 emerging and promising Kenyan startups, laying the foundation that would facilitate access to markets and other opportunities. It's been an honor to be among all of you, and I would like to congratulate all the Kenyan startups that made it to the top 100 list. Thank you all for being part of this exciting program that is launched today. I conclude my keynote by sharing some food for thought with a German proverb. Das Geheimnis des Weiterkommens besteht darin, loszulegen, which means the secret of getting ahead is getting started. So, quite simple. It is my belief that we all shall get started in providing visibility for Kenya's most promising startups. Without further ado, we now unveil the top 100 startups of Kenya in the year 2020. So thank you very much, and I congratulate all those who made it to the top 100. And in the Mlika spirit of shining light on Kenyan startups, we thank our partners GIZ, Make IT in Africa, ASEC, and Nairobi Innovation Week for putting this event together. Asanteni sana.
Santana, thanks very much. Those are encouraging and inspiring words from Daniel Alker, who is the head of the German Development Corporation, Embassy of the Federal Republic of Germany in Nairobi. Through this partnership with Make IT, we were able to put this initiative together, people pulling from different directions. Now, I cannot say anything more than what he has just said, because he has basically opened up the window for the unveiling of the 100 startups. So just to articulate, we will now announce from 100 to number 11, and over to the technical team to release that announcement. Thank you very much. Wow. What do you make of it, Tracy?
Wow. Already, 100 startups have been recognized in Kenya.
Yeah. That was the whole point. We were trying to reveal 90. We just did 90 of them. And now we have another 10 to go. So we did a post a little bit, and we're going to release the top most promising. Let me just a little try to explain. First of all, of course, it's congratulations to those people who made it. Just as Daniel mentioned, it's an effort that, we did over many months. We started off by a nomination process. So we built a platform and asked stakeholders, innovators, innovation hubs, rather, enablers, accelerators to make nominations. So they nominated, and we had way over 100 applications. It was during COVID time, and that was a tough time as well. But then after these nominations, jury, and we gave them a tool that they would use to make an independent individual judgment. So everyone ranked on the basis of value proposition, business model, your route to market, your team, the team composition, the potential impact, supporting the sustainable development goals, Vision 2030, and so on and so forth. And every judge made their own independent score. And then from there, we aggregated, and then that's how we arrived at the top 100. So now this was an announcement of the 90, and in a little while, we will be announcing the final 10. Ultimately, we'll have the 2 videos that then will be available in the public. Now, one of the things that I want to ask is Tracy has been part and parcel of this program, supporting it from a technical perspective, from a planning, and so on and so forth. How does it feel now that we have arrived at this point in time and we are able to publicly announce all the confidence and all the excitement that goes with it?
Actually, I have 2 feelings. One, relief and excitement. As being on this panel, I already knew the startups, and I wanted to tell people before the time is out. So already by January, I wanted to say, oh, this is among the top 100. But I had to hold my excitement and just wait. I was patient enough. And I'm actually happy that now there's a platform to recognize top 100 startups in Kenya.
Wonderful. I mean, and when we have partners like, Make IT as part of this, it builds the credibility of the program.
Yes,
we had the University of Nairobi, leading university in the country. We had Make IT, we had ASEC, yes, who are championing the well-being and the needs, thinking through the needs of the ecosystem. And then now Kenya National Innovation Agency, that is trying to nurture and coordinate the innovation ecosystem. And then our Tracy also from, I know that, you're transitioning into other things as well, but what do you expect to see going forward out of this kind of an effort?
From this point on, the startups that have actually been nominated to also take an effort to get that recognition, feeling of pride. And then also, I'm hoping that even the ecosystem can pick this up to ensure that this initiative is sustainable. We also have top 100 startups 2021, 2022, and so forth.
Absolutely. You just mentioned, that other stakeholders in the ecosystem will pick this up. And you're currently speaking to the CEO of Kenya National Innovation Agency. I've made a commitment to the board that I think this is one of the things that we must champion and increase as much visibility out of. Out of this event, we're of course going to take these videos and so forth, and we're going to push out a lot more so that that sense of pride, really happens. The other thing, we've talked to a number of investors, VCs and angel investors and so forth, who have been asking that, hey, you guys have done some assessment, you've been able to sieve, now here you are, you've got a set of startups. Can we know them so that we can initiate conversations with the intention of exploring whether we can invest in them? I want to believe that that was one of the aspirations and desires you had as we constructed this, yeah?
Definitely. This was one of the desires we had.
Yeah.
Another desire we had was also to create ecosystem collaboration. Or may I use the phrase ecosystem happiness? That's why we didn't want the startups to nominate themselves.
Yes.
We wanted hubs and accelerators and enablers to nominate startups so that even hubs can say, we nominated that startup. That startup was part of our program.
Absolutely. In fact, going forward, one of the analysis that we intend to do out of this data is to say, so how many startups came from Hub X? How many startups came from Hub Y? And so on and so forth. That way, you also celebrate the hubs.
Of course.
All right.
We didn't want to just focus on Nairobi, the whole of Kenya.
Yes. So that we will also be trying to find out how many hubs came from Kilifi County. And for the counties that won't have startups, when we announce 2021, the next question will be, does your county have startups? All right. And now we'll be having another session to announce the top 10. Of course, the debate can be, okay, so what were the parameters? How sure are you? Were you subjective? I just like to announce it publicly. We tried our best to make this process as objective and independent as possible. But that doesn't mean that you can't question something about some ranking and say maybe this startup should have been classified better than this one and so forth. But, we probably don't want to spend too much time thinking about who ranked number 1 and number 2 and number 3 and so forth. But more important is that we've got 100 startups that we can continue to celebrate. And then as we go forward, we begin to tighten and strengthen the program, and it becomes, a flagship initiative for the country. Now we're going to transition, and we will be announcing the top 10. And I want to find out from my technical team whether we are in good shape to announce the top 10. And then after we announce the top 10, the next bit we will do is we're going to invite a few stakeholders on board who will dial in. We've got some of the representation from ASEC, and then the rest of us will be here. That means Kenya National Innovation Agency is represented. We've got one member of the panel of the jury also participating. One startup will participate. And some of the conversation we'll have now here is where do we move from here in a tangible and practical manner, in a practical, pragmatic, tangible way. So over to the technical team as we unveil the top 10 startups.
In 2019, Mlika embarked on a mission to shine a light on Kenyan startups. This would create visibility for them by exposing them to investors, potential partners, and customers. Kenyan entrepreneurship and innovation stakeholders were asked to nominate startups for recognition by Mlika. In total, 111 startups were nominated. After evaluating all the nominated startups, an unpartisan jury came up with the following startups who emerged as the top 10 Kenya's most promising startups of 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, these are Kenya's most promising startups of 2020 as presented to you by Mlika and its partners. At number 10, we have EcoFuels Kenya. EcoFuels Kenya is a social enterprise registered in 2012 and since then has been operating in Kenya. The enterprise uses cotton nuts to make biofuel, organic fertilizers, and poultry feeds. Through its organic products, EcoFix is serving as a substitute to chemical products and conserving the environment. The startups has worked with over 6,000 households who have provided the company with adequate supply of nuts. This in turn translates to a passive income for the households. Through the Dubai Expo 2020, EcoFuels Kenya received a grant which helped them to increase their nut collection capacity. EcoFuels Kenya has also received great support from Village Capital, NetFund, Growth Africa, the Kenya Climate Innovation Center, KCIC, and Reasonable East Africa, Adapt Capital, and the Elios Foundation. The enterprise has previously been featured by CNN, The Guardian, Daily Nation, and The Standard, among other publications. EcoFuels Kenya is based in Nanyuki, Kenya, and you can get more details about them by visiting their website www.efk.co.ke. On the number 9 spot, we have Tanda Africa, a fintech startup that turns your everyday neighborhood shop into one-stop shop for digital financial services. The youth-led company has been in operation since 2018. Tanda enables shops to sell airtime, bill payment services, banking and mobile money to their customers. The fintech startups works with partners such as Safaricom, Airtel, Telcom, Kenya Power, DSTV, Zuku, and Nairobi Water, among others. Tanda so far worked with over 8,000 agents who are majorly shop retailers. Tanda has previously received funding from Havaik, a South African venture capital, as seed investments. In the wake of COVID-19, Tanda came through in the aid of MSMEs by launching a support package which includes affordable health insurance cover for COVID-19 and a cardless withdrawal product for banks and circles. The startup is run by a team of 9, with Geoffrey Muley being the CEO. To get more details about Tanda, visit their website www.tanda.africa. At number 8, we have Mshule. Mshule is an affordable SMS learning and data management platform helping primary school pupils build 21st century skills through personalized lessons powered through artificial intelligence. Ladies and gentlemen, all you need to do is send a short code Mshule to 40606 and boom, you are on. The good thing with Mshule is you don't need internet access to learn. You can do it on your kabambe. Again, as a parent, you're able to track the progress of your child and even get personalized lessons. Mshule has received funding and support from entities such as EWB Ventures, Ingenie, Kito, and many others. This has helped the startup scale and even reach out to millions of primary school pupils across Kenya and sub-Saharan Africa. At number 7, we have Lentera Africa. Lentera is the perfect example of using technology to transform farmers' lives. Through tech, Lentera enables farmers in Africa to adapt to climate change through climate-smart farm inputs. The company uses satellite imaging and drone imaging to provide farmers with information that helps them achieve high yields. The company so far has worked with a significant number of Kenyan farmers and now has scaled its operation to East Africa and recently to Zambia. Lentera has previously been featured at the Innovate Agriculture Summit in Dubai and received support from local and foreign entities such as the Mauritius Chemical and Fertilizer Industry, MCFI, Airbus, KCIC, and others. The company is run by a team of 10 which includes managerial and staff members. The company is based in Kiambu and has branches in Zambia and Tanzania. To get more details about Lentera Africa, visit their website www.lenteraafrica.com. Now, good people, who doesn't need some counseling at some point? Well, some of us avoid it just because they can't be anonymous. The next startup just offers you what you want, just the way you want it. Ladies and gentlemen, at number 6 we have Wazi. Wazi connects you with therapy services over your phone through Facebook Messenger or Telegram. You can get a local counselor for yourself or even get one to someone. Wazi has so far helped over 1,000 patients in recovery of mental health through a click of a button. The counselors at Wazi are fully certified and personally vetted. So gentlemen, you can now get counseling from a counselor without a physical visit. Wazi also provides digital tools for counselors, counseling groups, NGOs, and government. To get more details about Wazi, visit their website www.wazi.co. Now on to number 5. This is what you would call girl power. 3 amazing ladies came together and produced some magic. Ladies and gentlemen, on the number 5 spot we have Magic Water. This inspiring water and filtration business was started in 2013 and co-founded by 3 ladies simply because over half of the Kenyan population do not have access to clean water. Imagine turning air into water. Sounds like magic, right? That is exactly what Magic Water does. By using condensation technology, Magic Water harvests drinking water from the air and filters it for drinking. Drip by drip, Magic Water is capable of harvesting up to 100,000 liters of pure drinking water in 24 hours. Through their innovation, Magic Water so far has helped thousands of women in arid and semi-arid areas access clean water without having to walk for 4 hours just to get 20 liters of water. Magic Water has received support from different enablers such as iHub, KCIC, and many others. The startup has also been featured by media houses such as CNN Africa, BBC World Service, The Guardian, The Daily Nation, NTV, and many others. They have also previously won several awards and grants such as the EDF Pulse Africa Awards in Paris, France. Previously, they have been finalists at the prestigious Royal Academy of Engineering. To get more details about Magic Water, visit their website www.magicwater.co. The next startup was launched in 2017 and has then grown to become a success both locally and internationally. In 2019, it was acquired by global healthcare firm Merck and has so far expanded to South Africa. ConnectMed allows patients to access consultation with medical professionals via video link. Licensed practitioners are available for same-day consultation and can provide prescription, sick notes, and referrals. For doctors, this service allows them more flexibility and control over their work hours. ConnectMed, operating in Kenya as M-Daktari, has so far worked with hundreds of professional medical practitioners to deliver online consultation to thousands of patients. ConnectMed was featured in the Nairobi Innovation Week edition of 2018 and received funding from Vilgo, Kenya. Led by a managerial team of 9, the company continues to work with doctors and clinics to offer medical services online. To get more details about ConnectMed, visit their website www.connectmed.co.ke. At number 3, we have PowerMe. PowerMe offers a pay-as-you-go solar home system that enables customers to immediately benefit from clean and affordable electricity while building a credit history that can unlock access to life-changing products and services like scholarship loans and micro-insurance. In the last 2 years, PowerMe has changed over 30,000 lives and is looking to impact on millions of other people in sub-Saharan Africa who do not have access to electricity. The company uses mobile money-based plans to provide its energy-efficient lamps, phone charging connections, radios, and flashlights to its customers. PowerMe has previously been recognized by Harvard Business School, the MIT Enterprise Forum, among others. The company has also received publication from international and local media outlets such as The National, Forbes, Business Daily, and others. To get more details about PowerMe, visit their website powerme.com. On the number 2 spot, we have Tula. Tula uses mobile technology and artificial intelligence to provide access to credit, inputs, training, and buyers to smallholder farmers in Africa. Since its launch in 2017, Tula has worked with a significant number of farmers in Africa to offer its unique product. Over the years, Tula has secured funding from ventures such as the AHL Ventures Partners and won the Runners-Up Prize at the MIT Zambezi Prize for Financial Inclusion Innovation, among other recognitions. With most African families dependent on agriculture for their livelihoods, Tula is the best solution to Africa's food shortage nightmare. Behind Tula is an international team of 21 experts committed to getting their boots muddy to serve their community. Tula has previously received the Facebook Africa Innovation Award and has been featured by both local and international press including Bloomberg, VentureBurn, Business Daily, among others. The company has also received investment from Beyond Capital Fund, Global Partnership, and Acumen. To get more details about Tula, visit their website www.tula.io. And now, ladies and gentlemen, Kenya's most promising startup of 2020 is Usudi Limited. Usudi is a social enterprise bridging the skills gap between youth and the labor market by offering a unique service package which includes skills training and on-the-job support. Through the Employ and B2B sales training program, Usudi is here to deliver quality and holistic learning experiences that achieve behavioral change. Usudi so far has trained over 2,000 youths through its core programs with an 87% employment rate. Usudi's training and coaching has also been used by the likes of Blaze from Safaricom, Andela, UN Habitat, and Red Cross, among others. Usudi has continued to enjoy partnership from Embassy of Finland, Akili Dada, Cooperative Bank Foundation, ABSA, MEST, UN Habitat, among others. Through its employer program, Usudi has seen over 2,000 sales graduates recruited by over 300 employer partners. If you're looking at becoming the #1 salesperson or getting one, then Usudi is the right place for you. To get more details about Usudi, visit their website usudi.co. We congratulate all those who made it to the top 10. And in the Mlika spirit of shining light on Kenyan startups, we thank our partners GIZ, Make IT in Africa, ASEC, and Nairobi Innovation Week for putting this together. It can only get better.
What a moment. We finally released the top 100 startups of 2020. Tracy, what do you make of this?
Wonderful.
Wonderful. So it's been quite some effort of several months thinking through the program, designing the elements of it, getting the stakeholder involvement, and then running the program and finally being able to unveil. You know, the second thing that I'm going to ask you, Tracy, as you know, one of the project managers who've been supporting this program, you know, we were planning to do this part of a physical event, you know, Nairobi Innovation Week, and, you know, get people around the table and let's celebrate together. That didn't happen, but here we have had, and we've been able to unveil. What do you make of that innovative thinking to finally do the 3-day conference and do the unveiling as a climax?
the conference. It was good news, to be quite honest. I was very disappointed that you couldn't have it under the Nairobi Innovation Week, but circumstances made it impossible. But it was good that we could get innovative and decide why not have an online event. Because this was an opportunity to still give the startups visibility. And the fact that we could still do it digitally just proves how innovative the ecosystem is.
Right. So here we are. We've been able to run an online event starting Wednesday and crowned it with the unveiling of these 100 startups. And you know, it's an opportunity to increase the visibility of these startups. So we're going to do a number of initiatives beyond here. There will be a lot of social media engagements. There will be traditional media engagements to support and amplify this voice. We're going to do quite some blogging on this. Each of the startups that have been recognized so that we can increase the conversation. And then we have also built a huge network of investors and stakeholders. And one of the things we expect and we can imagine is that some of the VCs and angel investors are going to be reaching out and trying to say, you know, tell us a little more about this particular startup, and we'll provide the information. And we hope that we can strengthen that linkage so that more startups can attract funding and they can grow. Not only funding, but also in terms of partnerships and capacities that will enable them to become even better. So with this unveiling, I just want to emphasize again that the narrative is not so much about who is number 1 and who is number 99 or 100. It is more about having a pool of startups that we can celebrate. And you can look at these things in different parameters, and you can assess it in different ways, but at least we have a pool of 100 startups that we will celebrate as the year progresses in preparation for next year. I now would like to invite a few, partners who wanted to join this conversation. In the room here is already Make IT represented, and Kenya National Innovation Agency. I'm right here. And then we are going to have a few other partners who want to join and have a conversation about, so where do we go from here? That's a question. And, you know, people will look at it from different ways. So we have one startup who is one of the founders of ENDA. And then we've got the chairman of ASEC, who is Bernard. And Bernard was here a little while ago. And then we have one of the judges. I hope he's also going to make it. And we'll just have a little bit of a conversation in your own perspective based on where you come from, where do we go from here. So may I invite them to join? The first person I'm going to ask this question is Tracy, because she's right next to me. And you can try to say, where do we go from here? But before you do so, I can see Bernard.
Yes. Hello. Hi, Tony and Tracy. Good.
You've been able to participate in the unveiling of the startups.
Yes.
And so my first question, take of that.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Tony and Mlika and the whole team. I think this is a great milestone for our ecosystem. So I think it's a wonderful platform, and I think we have to make it bigger and better next year. Tony, I can't hear you. I've lost your sound. Yeah.
Now?
Yes.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, this initiative, first of all, we had no baseline, what to make reference to, and so forth. There was a little bit of uncertainty, and then it was compounded by the fact that we had COVID along the way, and then we lost a bit of balance. And then for me, again, to agency was a little bit of turbulent, but here we are. We've innovatively delivered on this, and we are saying, okay, now we have a footprint. We've made the first step that defines how we start and how we end. The next thing is, how do we amplify this? And that's the question we're going to be asking ourselves. How do we move from here? And we have the representatives of institutions who can boldly say about what we can do and make it bigger and better into the years to come. I can see that we've got one startup on board. That is Navalayo from ENDA. Hey.
How are you
I
guys?
can see Namalai. How are you?
Good, good. Nice to be here.
Wonderful, wonderful. About 1 year or so trying to put this concept together, trying to pull stakeholders to participate, and we've just released 100 startups. We didn't want to emphasize the sequence, whether this is number 1 or number 10. That's not the important part, but at least we've gotten startups that we can talk about. What do you make of this kind of idea?
I think it's a wonderful idea because usually like startups are by themselves, and it's nice to highlight them because especially from a platform like Mlika, which has access to things that startups are looking for. So I think the recognition is great, and also the ability for them to, for example, network to investors or also network with other people who are in the ecosystem. I think it's great. So it's definitely a good program. Like it's something great, and I hope it will keep going on for many years because this is our way. I don't think in Kenya we have many platforms through which we showcase like the best startups. So if you look at the US, for example, you have Y Combinator and you have other platforms, but it's not so developed here. So I think this is a wonderful thing because over time, then all startups will want to also be included in this process so that they can benefit from the platform.
I mean, the dream was that it is something that people become very proud of to be, recognized as a part of this 100, and something that people strive towards, whereby the community and the ecosystem is able to say, yes, you belong there. And so we will do quite some campaign right now to increase the visibility, social media versus means, so that people become proud that, yes, they were recognized and their efforts, are appreciated. Sometimes when you're I'm going to feel sometimes lonely.
Not sometimes, all the time.
Then make you feel based on all the effort you've been putting?
I would say entrepreneurship is lonely in the sense of you're always thinking of the ideas and trying to execute them alone. Like before you even get to a point where you convince someone else to join you on board. And so the whole process of thinking, implementing, processing the whole thing, it's usually like it feels lonely, I would say that. And so it's important, and that's why I think this is also great, because I, for example, just listening to the other startups, some of them I knew, some of them I haven't heard about, but just listening to them, I'm like, wow, okay, this is going on, and this person is doing this. And so I think this is extremely important, because then in as much as we are alone, you tend to think that the challenges are alone. But if you talk to all these startups, you'd find that in as much as you feel alone, the problems are very common. And so we have to basically keep having sessions like this that allow entrepreneurs like us to know other entrepreneurs and what's going on with them. And at the same time, once we have discussions like this, we realize that even though you feel lonely, the condition or the situation is much more common across other people. So the best way to overcome is to come together to learn, so that if I am good at, let's say, accounting and someone else is good at taxes, we can change the knowledge to figure out that solution. So yes, it is lonely, but if you have the right networks and the right platforms such as this, then it's easier to reach out to people and say, how are you solving this problem?
Good. Try to make this process as objective as possible. It was tedious. At some point in time, we were getting overwhelmed, but somehow we try to make it independent and objective as possible. And our desire is to build on the framework that we have laid, to make it better and more prestigious. When people say I'm Miss Kenya, that is something, and the whole world kind of looks at you, and then from and so forth, or if I am in the Times 100 people and things like that. That's the aspiration we have here, and we hope that it'll build comfort and cushion and a sense of pride for the startups that get recognized. So I'm going to transition a little bit into, okay, where could we move from here? And now I have all of you in the room. But before I do so, I'll ask you one more question. From Enda perspective, I chose to put you into this level because we had an opportunity earlier in the week for you to participate in sharing your experiences from a fundraising perspective. But I thought that, you know, I've interacted with you before, Nairobi Innovation Week in the past, and you've stayed on track and somehow you've sustained and grown. I thought that will probably fit on this kind of a platform a little better. So my question for you at this point in time is, you know, from your fundraising journey and resource mobilization and growth, because you're kind of classified as, you know, one of the successful startups, you know, with local faces and local energy. Do you see that this kind of an initiative going forward, if you had it in the past, maybe it would have helped you to move even a little faster? It would have probably given you a little momentum. And with that background, you see this as something that can help the ecosystem going forward? And what are some of the things you'd like to see happen so that this becomes a tool to help you?
Actually, a very good question. So when we started fundraising, a piece of paper and started going on Google and saying funds that may be interested in investing in Africa, then investing in manufacturing. Like, it was basically a Google search. And we spent so much time reaching out to people who, in retrospect, we would not, or we shouldn't even have bothered reaching out to. Like, we were wasting our time. But because we didn't know any better, we were just working hard, not working smart. And so I think a platform like this is important, especially when you're talking about the connection between investors and entrepreneurs. Like, that is such an important thing that if you don't manage it well, you become frustrated. Already as an entrepreneur, the business, like the whole process of running a business is hard. And so you need to conserve your energy. And so if you end up like, instead of building your business, all you're doing is going from one place to the other and, you know, looking for money, you may even end up forgetting how to run your business. And so I think this platform is important because if there was a way, first, I think the linkages with investors is super important, because someone who is working in their house may not necessarily know how to access an investor, or may not even know that the investor exists. So this is very important. And then again, as I said, the platform isn't just about investors, but you also talk like no other entrepreneurs. And the problem is, you think that you're basically making this list alone, but every entrepreneur is looking for funding. And so a platform like this is important, because then you're able to talk to another person. I can ask whether it's Tala or Yusudi or any other company, I'm asking them, what has been your fundraising journey? And also I can able to drill down by sector, because I've seen there's one on tech, education, others. And so when you create that ecosystem, when there's a platform that exists to allow you to tap into that, you basically reduce the time that you would have spent trying to reach those investors. So A, direct access to investors, and B, talking to entrepreneurs who, I think it's also an honest conversation, because will say that's not a good funder. They maybe took us around for 6 months and they didn't tell us anything. Like, that feedback is important. Investors share feedback, and so entrepreneurs need to share feedback as well. And so if you don't have a platform like this that allows people to know these entrepreneurs exist, then it becomes really difficult. And last but not least, I think the platform is also important for highlighting the best startups. You know, sometimes you don't have the energy to know, like, we don't have that much of data in Kenya to know, like, here's where the startups are. You'll find organizations do this, but there isn't that much knowledge to say, if I'm looking for startups in a specific sector, I would probably just Google, you know. And so this is important, because when it gets to a point where every startup is trying to be on this list, they want to be on the Kenya's missing startups list, then it becomes something that we all look forward to, and we're like, okay, so who's on the list on 2021 and 2022? And so it becomes so much easier to pick out and identify startups that are outstanding and worthy of support, instead of them just working in the shadows.
Make out of that.
Like an angle she's brought about, networking. You get to know other startups, and you actually get to reach out to the other startups rather than you always doing a Google search. That's an interesting angle you brought about.
So all of a sudden now we're one big family, and we are talking to each other, you know, as opposed to we were fighting over some things, you know.
Now you can even have a platform for sharing resources and knowledge exchange.
Absolutely, absolutely. So now let me move to the section of where do we move from here? What comes to mind about what we can do? And I'll really pick my pen, and I'll tell you why I'm picking my pen. So I have been appointed as the CEO of Kenya National Innovation Agency. You are probably going to speak to me now. Where do we go from here? And we stop looking at some of these things as standalone projects, standalone initiatives by some group or individuals and so forth. And we begin to think about how do we consolidate these things so that it is Kenyan. We speak more broadly from a Kenyan perspective. So I'll start with you, Chairman of ASEC. What would you tell us? Where do we move from here? And
yeah, thanks, Tony. I think that the concept of Mlika, when I look at it, is we've now done our MVP. We know how to identify startups. We know how to evaluate them, and it has brought us here. But I think we need to think a little bit more broadly and wear a bit of an ecosystem hat and say, how do we Mlika other actors that could actually help us build a more complete ecosystem? I'd be very interested to see, for example, in the next edition or in some future edition of this program, I'd want us to Mlika the early stage angel investors, for example, that we have in Kenya. I'd want us to see, I'd want us to Mlika venture capitalists that are doing well, that are investing in local companies. I'd want us to Mlika innovation hubs that are, giving the best support to startups in this country. And I think when you start thinking like this, you can really grow this into a very, complete and bigger platform that focuses on highlighting the wins that we have in this ecosystem. So that is what I'd want us to, to start thinking. How do we plug in the other larger ecosystem into this? And I'm really looking forward to next year. And probably this will also trigger, more startups that did not know that this platform exists. I personally know a lot of startups that were not on this top 100, and I don't want to share with them this, there's a platform, and also to look at new sectors in the ecosystem. For example, I am now leading some work in the disability innovation space. So I'd want to see us also highlighting assistive technology startups, for example, and new areas of innovations that we have in Kenya. Thank you.
Okay. So just a quick response to that. I mean, you're absolutely right. What we have is an MVP, and we can feel like it has value in the ecosystem. And why I'm liking this conversation is that, look, we didn't have to get an external person, a non-Kenyan, to how to think the next step. Yes, there was some little support, of course, that came from Make IT, but what I am now talking about is where we're going is going to be driven by us, all right? And we see the value of what we are creating. We see how it's going to potentially impact each and every one of us, and there's excitement around it. I agree with you. There is an opportunity to Mlika more angel investors, VCs. We had a few VCs in the program on Thursday, but then of course they didn't kind of get to feature here. But what I agree that, we would want to find out which VCs have invested significantly in Kenya. If the total amount is this much, this is the highest investor, followed by so and so. This is the top 10. Also is that it increases their visibility, and then it makes the startups want to say, hey, you know what? That should be the guy I should be, talking to, because they seem to be supporting startups in Kenya. Innovation hubs, I absolutely agree. One of the things we would want to do even after this is to look at the startups and say, hey, Innovation Hub XYZ gave us 10 of these startups. Great job. Celebrate them and so forth. Counties, for example, and say, Mombasa County had 40% of the startups that got here, and so on and so forth. I agree with you on the categories, increasing the categories, and say within this category, because right now we have just generated a list, that's fine. But we probably could say within the assistive technologies, we had 5 startups, and we celebrate that 5, so that's amazing. So from a Kenya perspective, to echo what you've said, one of the things I am toying around with is establishing a YouTube channel where we will begin to celebrate startups. So all these 100, we should be able to go further and dig deeper to each of those startups and create content about them. Of course, this content that we've created will, so that it is a point of reference, and we continue to build from there. Now, of course, also from a Kenya perspective, I'm able to categorically say, this is always the benefit of being the CEO. You are able to say, yes, we will do this, you know. So I can confirm that we are adopting Mlika as a program of the agency. And as long as I'm going to be there for 5 years, I've already received the blessing of the board. So we continue to build that momentum together. I already told them that this is the first event we are doing while I've just arrived. So they said, great, great, keep going, man, we'll support you. I reached out to a few corporates. I talked to Oracle, I talked to Cisco. I don't remember one more I spoke to. And they all said, great, great. I just spoke to Konza Technopolis, and I'll be visiting them next month. There was a lot of excitement about it. And I think I have that privilege to kind of try and tie this thing together, and we build on its quality going forward. So now I'll transition, and I'll ask Navalayo, from a startup perspective, where do we move from here? Where do we go?
I'll just reflect based on the challenges I've gone through and resources useful. So one of the models that I very much admire is SBA.gov. It's a US agency that essentially just caters to small businesses and nothing else. And so what's there is that it is a top resource shop for anything you're thinking about, whether you're thinking about it has some notes. Having a supplier contract, it has. So they have basically broken down the whole small business journey, and they have created samples. Of course, there's the caveat that these are not, you should consult a legal person, but the thing that makes it popular is that it is an information hub. And I don't think in Kenya we have that. We have lots of different agencies, but each of them is dealing with its own specific sector. So the information is fragmented. And I think if from a Mlika perspective, because I feel like people will always be attracted to knowledge, right? And even though I may not know of Mlika, if I am looking for something and it's on the Mlika website, it kind of pops. And so that's like one way for Mlika to actually strive to be the best hub of information for small businesses and startups. And so you're basically investing in content. I like the idea for the YouTube channel. That's like you're investing in content and blog posts and everything. It's like the one thing that if you ask an entrepreneur on the street and they'll be like, did you check Mlika, you know? And I know people are looking for information. That's much I know. I looked for that information. And so there's an opportunity gap, at least locally, in terms of one business that gives you everything. Like if you're going to KRA, make sure you have this form and that form and that form. If you're going to, like, we have the information fragmented. So I think if Mlika is able to kind of be that local version where the information hub is there, I think that will automatically bring entrepreneurs without even Mlika having to go look for the attention of saying, do you know Mlika exists? Because people will come from that perspective. And then I think one of the challenges that most startups face is market access. And market access is not necessarily just from a product perspective, but also from a IT perspective. So for example, I want to be able to offer my services to Europeans or to Americans or to Australians. What are the legal things I need to do in order to be able to access that market? I say that because from a business perspective, COVID, I think, would have brought the business down. But had it not been for our ability to access other markets, then it would have been a very different story for us. And so I think that's one thing that, because ultimately every person wants to make a sale, and limiting that sale to the domestic sphere is not necessarily the best thing, in my opinion. And so if you're doing it from that perspective, for instance, and that's what I was talking about information, like I've had to figure out how to sell to customers in Europe, I've had to figure out how to sell to customers in the US. Any place that gives you to do, for instance. If I make it more practical, like in the US, I needed a US entity. In Europe, I need a European entity. This is the things you need to look for and stuff like that. And so I think if Mlika can be the platform that enables market access, I think that will be like really great. There's different ways of doing that, but I think that's basically someone saying, how can I be able to sell, or how can I be able to have customers in a country other than here? Most of the challenges are around movement of money and delivery, but the solutions exist. And so again, it's a pull factor, I think, to Mlika, whereas if people know that if you go to Mlika, you will find ways to be able to access customers outside. Like, it also brings another element where the demand of it, like people will come to Mlika because they know they're getting the information they're looking for. And yeah, I think that was covered by the YouTube channel, but not just highlighting the startups, but also discussing like topics that are very relevant to what startups are going through. Things like, I was in a session yesterday where people were asking like, what is pay, like what is PAYE? And I'm like, you know, this is someone with a business and they haven't even thought about that. And so I think YouTube is a really great medium to be able to also just do series or something that touches on, okay, as a business person, from a financial perspective, have you thought of X, Y, Z? And so I think once you are able to do that, then Mlika becomes the place where information that I want as an entrepreneur is coming from, be it access to market, be it how to make sure I'm legally complying with laws and regulations. And I think if you do it that way, then it's inevitable that a lot of entrepreneurs will want to come and be on the platform because they know there's something in there for them.
Just summarize, if I could just give a brief summary of what you said. From what I'm gathering is, you want Mlika to be a platform that should give you access to skills. This is information exchange, access to markets, access to finance. This is through the VCs. And Bernard brought an angle about ecosystem support, where we're not just shining on startups, but we're recognizing VCs, accelerator, enabler. Can we just actually summarize into those four key points for Mlika? Would I be correct in saying that?
Yeah, I think the only caveat I would add is I wouldn't necessarily want Mlika to be the connector, because I think it might also be a little bit difficult, all those things. But if I know that Mlika is where I know how to do something, then Mlika doesn't have to teach the skills. That makes it expensive to do all that. But to be the source where you know the how to.
So, you know, what you have actually articulated is the function of Kenya National Innovation Agency. As an entity, the act of that established that agency, they saw that gap very, very well and articulated it. But then, of course, it's operationalization that has taken a bit of time. And so I've been invited there, you know, to spend the next few years to actually champion. And you know, the smart guy, what I did is that I roped in Mlika very quickly as one of the programs that we are going to be running. And the way now you have articulated on information, for example, you know, skills, finance, and so forth, you know, it's so easily available. I can see where this kind of information is available, but I think it is not positioned in a manner that it is consumable to you as a startup. All right. This morning we had a long presentation from the Ministry of East Africa, and they're talking about ease of doing business, and they listed a number of things. And then I kept on wondering, but do the startups really know this? How come? I've run a few experiments, you know, I'm an academic, so I've run a few experiments in my classes, and I asked students at the beginning of the semester, do you know where KIPI is? Or do you know what KIPI is? Then you get 90% of the people never raise up their hand. Then you ask those 10% and say, do you know where KIPI is? And then half of them will raise their hand. And then you know about intellectual property management, 0. And then you say, okay, so how will we thrive in the next level? We talk about all this industrial revolution and so forth. If we can't address this issue very well and it becomes common information, why is it that they don't know? Is that the information is not been packaged. It's not that it's not available. It's not been packaged in a manner that is consumable to them. Where is it that they can find it in a language that they can get? I had a privilege among the first CEOs I spoke to, which is about 2 weeks ago, when I got to office, is the CEO of Export Promotion. Now, you've just talked about market access, and you've mentioned Europe for that matter. These guys don't do anything else other than to get the Kenyan products and services to the European market, among others. And they asked me, how can you help us as the head of innovation agency so that we can be more innovative? We are really struggling how to do it. And now you've just answered that question, is that you're a startup, you've got a product, you've been thinking about how do I access that market? And here is export promotion, not knowing how to get hold of you. And that's exactly what Kenya is supposed to do, is to facilitate the linkage between you and export promotion. I just spoke to the CEO of Konza Technopolis, who tells me he's got so many things, all cloud services, he's got all these things. But you know, they say, oh, we've got a problem with our coordination because everybody's doing something. Kipi are doing something, Standards Guy, Kebs are doing something, Kirdi are doing something of their own, but we don't have a way of coordinating ourselves. We've got one hackathon here and another hackathon at different times. Everybody announces their thing, and that's what Kenya is supposed to do. So I can confirm to you, based on what I've heard, issues of market access, information, I'm going to plug them under Kenya National Innovation Agency, and then we will hold Mlika as that shining light, that philosophy of shining light. And when you shine light, it means the person whose light, where the light is being shown to, becomes more visible. And the flip also happens. If I shine light on you, then I can see you better. All right? So it benefits me as the person who is looking that, oh, I can see it, but I never understood that that is what export promotion does. When he explained to me what they do, I was amazed. I'm like, I didn't know there was such an agency. And so I agree with you from a startup perspective. I think I've had you, and we'll look for forum to extend this conversation, structure these things a little better, and then we move forward. And of course, from Bernard as well, from the association perspective. Now, over to one of our great friends here, Tracy, to tell us what you think from your perspective. Where do we go from here?
Where we go from here is, one, the startups that have been shown a light, what will they do with that light?
Okay.
What next? Yes, the light has been shown on you. Will you keep it shining? Will you diminish it? What next for the startups? And also for the ecosystem, what next? This should be an initiative to bring together the ecosystem to work together to identify startups. So what next also for the ecosystem and the enablers? That's one of the questions we want to know, what next for them.
Okay.
So maybe they could actually be identifying startups for 2021.
All right.
Or rather, preparing startups for 2021.
All right. So we've got what will the startups do? Now you've shown some light on that. What are they? How are they going to run with that? There's a question of extending the collaboration of ecosystem players. I'm just amazed about how much is possible when we collaborate. Bernard, in the morning, I asked him, okay, so what are ASEC achieved? The first thing he said is that now we are speaking to one another, which we never used to, because everybody used to run their show right, left, and center. Then pairing of startups and so forth. Now, from Kenya's perspective, I think all these things are true. In the short term, one of the things I'm going to try and do is use what we have produced. You know, we like to say, what is in your hand right now? So what we have produced and try to increase its visibility. We're going to do a serious harvesting of the investor network, both local and international, that is interested. Thirdly, we're going to put our YouTube channel, and all this content will go there, and we will look for ways of enhancing it. I had already mentioned to the board, even before I arrived with the Kenya National Innovation Agency, I said, before I arrive, I'd like you to give me an endorsement that I'm going to start planning our event of 2021. And I'm going to spend the next several months to talk to as many stakeholders as possible, put together a concept note that takes care of as many interests as we can. And let's look forward to, setting targets that we can achieve for 2021 and start working on them as we build up. So with that, I look forward to, of course, engaging with each and every one as we build these thoughts together and then translate them into action. One of the things I really want to push for is not talk, but more action. Yes. So good ideas, yes, but if we don't act on them, that's a waste of air. So we are going to act on them. So any parting shots from my colleagues online? So I'll start with Bernard, and then Navalayo, and then Tracy.
So for me, it's really to thank you, Tony, and the entire Mlika team, GIZ, for making this happen, and to actually say that I'm looking forward to next year, and I'm looking forward to see this concept evolve to become the most prestigious startup program. So we have a lot of work to do, but there's a lot of goodwill, and we will support this. Thank you.
I'd like Bernard in terms of just saying, expressing gratitude to the Mlika team and also to GIZ for supporting this. I think my parting shot would be to entrepreneurs and to say you are not alone. Like, especially in all the challenges you go through, if you do not utilize platforms like this, if you do not try to reach out to other entrepreneurs, then you're basically trying to recreate a wheel, which you don't need to because it's already been made. And so I'd say utilize the opportunity, take time to go through the list, try to see who's in your sector, try to figure out who has tried fundraising, and that will just make your journey so much better and easier. And also, I believe just reaching out to the team, like if you're trying to do that by yourself and to reach out to a Mlika team, it's just easier to go and say, I'm trying to find people who are in this category of business. So I would say, to whom much is given, much is expected. So you have been given the tools, the opportunity, the platform, use it to the best of your advantage.
Thank you. Appreciate.
My closing remarks would be, I would want to see what the startups do next. The top 100 startups, what next? And I would also want to see the ecosystem engaging more. Bernard said people are talking. I want them to continue the conversation.
Yeah. Okay. And let's hear things happen. I hear Meta are partnering with the Nairobi Garage. You want to see more of that kind of stuff. Want to see more county participation, I want to believe, and so forth. Okay, great. Much I can say that I think my work has been cut out. I hit the ground running, and hopefully as the years go by, I can look back and say I left a mark in enhancing the coordination and therefore increasing the the efficiency. By the way, Nabalayo, one of the mandates of Kenya National Innovation Agency is in disseminating information necessary for the growth of with the growth of the ecosystem. So one of the things I am supposed to do is to be a spokesperson of government on the innovation trends, innovation needs, how we benchmark across the world, the positioning we are, whatever the startups need, so it's source of information. So you actually spoke to the heart of Kenya National Innovation Agency, and my promise is that we'll get the job done.
We shall hold you accountable. All. Thank you.
Yeah. You see me in you paid it. Where is it?
Okay.
We're going to now end, and all we will do, at least from the conference perspective, we're done. We're going to play just video of the 100 startups, just from number 100 to 1, and then we're going to upload this, and we're also going to circulate it to stakeholders as possible. So bye for now. you.